The Galactic Council had always been a place of measured discourse, where civilized species gathered to discuss trade routes, territorial disputes, and the occasional first contact protocol. For 3,000 cycles, the Great Hall had echoed with the melodious tones of the Veltar, the grinding harmonics of the Caraxians, and the crystalline chimes of the ethereal collective. It had never heard screaming, until today. Ambassador Zethkri of the Veltar hegemony clutched his forearms to his thorax, his bioluminescent patches flickering in rapid terror speak. Across the chamber, High Arbitrator Voss 9 of the Caraxian Empire had retreated into her protective shell, only her sensor stalks visible, twitching with barely contained panic. The ethereal representative had simply vanished, its gaseous form dispersing in what could only be described as existential dread. At the center of it all stood a human. She was unremarkable by the standards they had grown accustomed to. Bipedal, soft-skinned, lacking any visible natural weapons or apparent technological enhancements. Her name was Captain Sarah Chen, and she represented a species that had been dismissed as charmingly primitive when they were first discovered on the outer rim of the Orion spiral. "You want to know what humans do when cornered?" Chen asked, her voice carrying across the sudden silence. "When every civilized species in the galaxy decides our little rock isn't worth defending. When the Thaxian Dominion announced they were going to harvest our world for its mineral content and relocate the surviving population to labor camps." The question hung in the air like a toxin. The Thaxians had been a problem for centuries, a species of militaristic expansionists who believed might made right. They had conquered 47 worlds, enslaved dozens of species, and built an empire on the bones of civilizations that had dared to resist. When they announced their intention to claim Earth, the Galactic Council had filed the appropriate diplomatic protests and moved on to discuss grain subsidies. Humans, they reasoned, were too new, too primitive, and too few to matter. "We sent delegation after delegation," Chen continued, her eyes scanning the assembled representatives. "We begged. We pleaded. We offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation. The Veltar hegemony told us to accept the natural order. The Caraxian Empire suggested we adapt to changing circumstances. The ethereal collective advised us to transcend physical attachment to our world." A low rumble emanated from somewhere in the chamber, the Caraxian equivalent of nervous chittering. "So we went home. We held a meeting. Every human on Earth, all 8 billion of us, voted. Do you know what we decided? No one answered. No one dared. We decided that if the galaxy wouldn't help us, we'd help ourselves. If we were going to die, we'd make sure our deaths meant something. And if the Thaxians wanted our world so badly, they could have it." She paused, accessing something on her wrist device. A holographic display materialized above the assembly, showing the Thaxian home system of Vorthak Prime, or rather, what had been Vorthak Prime. Where once a thriving system of 12 worlds had orbited their star, there was now only debris and radiation. "Humans have a saying," Chen explained to the horrified silence. "If you can't win, make sure the other guy loses worse." The Thaxians thought they knew us. They studied our military capabilities, analyzed our technology, calculated our industrial capacity. They were right, we couldn't beat them in a fair fight. The hologram shifted, showing the aftermath of the Thaxian fleet's arrival at Earth. But where they expected to find a battered world ready for harvest, they found something else entirely. What they didn't account for was human creativity, human stubbornness, human spite. Chen smiled, and somehow that expression was more terrifying than any weapon. They didn't understand that when you threaten everything a human loves, they don't just fight harder, they fight smarter, dirtier, and with complete disregard for their own survival. The display showed the beginning of what galactic historians would later call the human gambit. It started with Earth's moon, hollowed out, filled with the most powerful explosive devices humanity could construct, and launched on a collision course with the Thaxian dreadnought. That was just the opening move, Chen continued. While they were dealing with our kamikaze moon, we did something no civilized species had ever attempted. We built a generation ship in 72 hours by cannibalizing everything we had, every satellite, every space station, every piece of orbital infrastructure. Then we loaded it with our most dangerous mines and one very simple mission. The hologram showed the ship's path, not toward some distant safe haven, but straight into the heart of Thaxian space. 200,000 volunteers, carrying nothing but determination and enough antimatter to crack a planet. They spent 6 months traveling to Vorthak Prime, broadcasting on every frequency, announcing exactly what they intended to do and exactly when they would arrive. The Thaxians could have stopped them at any point. Instead, they laughed. The laughter had stopped when humanity made good on its promise. The antimatter was just the delivery system, Chen explained. What we actually unleashed was something far more dangerous. A self-replicating nanoswarm programmed with one directive: decompose everything with Thaxian DNA. It took 6 hours to sterilize their entire home system. It took another 3 days to spread through their empire via their own communication networks. The chamber had gone deathly quiet. In 1 week, humanity eliminated a 1,000-year-old empire, not through superior technology or greater numbers, but through sheer, uncompromising malice. Because that's what humans do when you threaten our children. We don't just fight, we wage wars of extinction. Ambassador Zethkri finally found his voice. But your own world? Your people? Chen's smile returned. Oh, Earth is fine. We evacuated the population to our outer colonies and rebuilt. Turns out when you're fighting for survival, humans can accomplish remarkable things in a very short time. She gestured to the empty space where the Thaxian representative's seat had been. The Dominion is gone, but humanity remains. She looked around the chamber one final time. The Galactic Council ignored us when we asked for help. You dismissed us as primitive, weak, irrelevant. You were wrong on all counts. We're not asking to join your little club. We're informing you that we already have. And from now on, when humanity speaks, you listen. The voting was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and protections therein. More importantly, every species present made the same silent vow. Never again would they underestimate the small, soft, seemingly helpless bipeds from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Because they had learned a fundamental truth about humans, they were indeed terrifying. Not because of what they could do, but because of what they would do when everything they loved was threatened. In the depths of space, where the Thaxian Empire once ruled, their world still orbited dead stars, monuments to a simple truth: humanity was no longer to be ignored.